is kind of a new unit, but kind of not, because these are still polynomials. But we decided to break up the first part because that was kind of the complicated part. We wanted to break that in its own unit. So you'll be getting those tests back later today about factoring polynomials and that kind of stuff. Here's what we're doing today. Today we're looking at how this and its graph kind of go together. Now pay attention here. I'm teaching you new stuff right away. This number in the front, that is a special one. That's called the lead term. I don't even need to see this middle term to know what's going to happen on my polynomial. I just need the front one. I don't even need to see the last one. If you just tell me this lead term, I can tell you that it'll be going up on the right, and I'll know that it's also up on the left. And I'll know how many turns it's got in it. So imagine this is like somebody's driving out on the lake. This is one place that they turn. They kind of, maybe they're doing cookies out on the lake in their car because, you know, you spin around in your car. By the way, this time of year, it's not safe anymore out in the lakes. It was plenty safe to drive cars for a while, but now it's not because it's gotten too warm out. And you can usually tell because the ice fishing houses have come off the lake by now. And that's because people go out there, pick them up with their car, and drive back off. And they know that if they wait till March like this, well, first thing, they can get a ticket from the state because you're not supposed to have the ice house out there anymore. Because why? Because it's not safe. Because you could break through. But anyway, here's another turn, and here's another turn. So there were 3 turns in this one. So I can tell you this was not the equation for it because that one only has a squared in it. And you guys know what squareds look like. Squareds look like this. They're just a parabola. That's only got one turn where it turned the corner. All right, so let me see if I can get this across to you with just a few easy examples. What if I said negative 6x to the 5th? Please write that one down. Write this one down right now. And I'll tell you how I can tell what the graph's going to look like. I don't even need to see the rest. This could have a whole bunch of other terms like plus 6x squared minus 7x plus 14. I don't care. The lead term tells me everything. Got this written down? All right. That tells me it's down on the right. If the lead term is negative, that means that it's got an unhappy ending. Do you get that it's pretty rare for movies to have a sad ending, but every now and then there's a movie that's got an ending that's sad. If there's a negative in front, it's like it's got a sad ending. It's going to be going down on the graph on the right side of it. Well, how about the left side? There's nothing in here that specifically says which way the left side will go, but there is this. If this number right here, pay attention, if this number is even, then ends are the same. Like the right end and the left end will both be exactly the same. So if this one's down, it'll be down. But this one isn't even. A 5 is obviously odd. And that means different. I think that word actually makes sense. It's intuitive. If I said, there's a dog walking down the street on its front paws only. I've actually seen that. There's videos of dogs that can do that. They lift their back end up and they just walk on their front paws. Kind of crazy looking. That's odd. And it's different. Do you get how odd and different go together? Okay, so if this number is odd, then the ends are going to be different. That looks kind of like this. Here's a graph where the ends are going opposite directions. One's going up, one's going down. That would have an odd power. It's also known as the degree. This is called degree. Okay. So that tells me a lot of stuff. One more thing it tells me is if it's got a 5 for a degree, it's going to have 4 turns. So for example, you remember the car driving on the lake, for example? So here's a graph, and here's your car driving around on the lake. Took a turn, took another turn, took another turn, took another turn. That had 1, 2, 3, 4 turns in it. That would be degree 5. Like 4x to the 5th minus 6x plus 7, or x to the 3rd minus 7x, and all the other stuff at the end, it doesn't matter. That tells me that it's going to be going different directions, odd is different, and have 4 turns, one less than this. And since this number is positive, it's got a happy ending. It goes up on the right. Okay, so behold the test question from your next test. And then they say, how many turns will this graph have? If you know it, say it. 3. It's 1 less than the degree. Will it be the same on both ends? Yes, because this is even, means same. Same on both ends. Will the right side be going up or down? Down. So that one's going down on the right. The other end is going the same way, because that's even, and it's going to have 3 turns. The only other thing that matters at all is if there's a number at the end, it's like plus 4, that's still the y-intercept. It is handy to know the number at the end, but notice I didn't even care until this moment when I was like, oh, by the way, the last number does tell you the y-intercept. But all those terms in the middle, irrelevant. So if I give you a big, long equation, you can ignore most of it. 6x to the 5th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 2x plus 10. The only thing I might use is the last number. Would you tell me what this tells you? The 2 things this tells you, and the 1 thing that tells you. Write this down, and I'm going to call on different kids. The 10 tells me something. The 5 tells me 2 things. And the 6 tells me 1 thing. How well can you learn? So I just taught you stuff if you were paying attention. Dice of Destiny, where are you? Okay, the dice have come up row 1. Last person. Hatis. Pick any of those. Tell me something you know. 6 means up on the right. You are correct. Up on right. Again, I don't need everything. I'll let you tell me. Only the last person will be stuck with something. This is row 2, last person. Lydia, tell me one of the 3 remaining things you know. So the ends different, like the right end and left end, are different than each other. So since it's up on the right, the other one must be down on the left. Okay, so different is all it tells you. But since we know the right end, we can logically figure out the left end. Nice. Next person. That's a person who hasn't been here in a long time, so I'm going to be nice. Reroll the first die. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Miles Humphrey, that's you. Tell me something you know about the 5 or the 10.
My applicants were distracted, so I couldn't follow.
Got distracted. Okay, so I'd recommend I have a whole bunch of blank paper up there and a regular old pencil. That'd be fine.
It's charged right now, but it was like that.
Okay, I'll call on you again in a minute. So we're gonna just have JP take over for you then.
There's 4 turns.
4 turns. Good. So that means if I was making the graph, it would go like turn, 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 turn. 1, 2, 3, 4 turns. Okay? And last but not least, this 10. And that's row 3, last person, Sage. What does the 10 tell us? Y-intercept. Excellent. Cool. So then how could these, like, are we done already? Really close. So how could these be, like, more difficult if they're in factored form? But don't despair. It's still pretty easy. All you got to do is multiply it out. And even better than that, you only have to multiply out part of it. Would you agree that this doesn't really have a lead term yet? I got to multiply it all the way out, and then I'll be able to see what the lead term is. But are you smart enough to know that this times this would be the lead term? See what I mean? It'll have the biggest degree. So you don't have to actually multiply it all the way out. That's what we had in our last test, and that's what a lot of you guys struggled with. It was just being careful on so many multiplies. But this would multiply out to 2x to the third. And then I have my lead term. And you remember how I don't really care about all the rest of it? So the cool part for today is you don't have to multiply them all the way out. All I got to do is figure out what the first one's going to be. And then I'd ask you questions like this. Would the right end be going up or down? I want you to use a thumb. Either thumbs up, it's going up. Thumbs down, it's going down. From looking at that term, going up, going down. And most of you are saying up, and you are correct because it's positive. Next, there's 2 things that this tells me. Would the other end be the same or different? Dice of Destiny, row 3, 4th person, Vivi, that's you. Same or different? Yes, because it's odd. You'd say different on each end. So since the right end was going up, the left end would be going down. Okay, good. Next up, there's another thing this tells you besides that they're going to be different. It also tells you the number of turns. Truckee, do you know how many turns this is going to have? 2 turns. So if I was graphing it, it would go like 1 turn, another turn. That's a turn, that's a turn. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. Since I didn't have any other like number at the end, I could if somebody made me, but I don't think we even do this today. But that times that would give you negative 21 at the end. And so that means the y-intercept's negative 21. Just kind of like bonus info you probably don't have to do on today's worksheet. And that's why we basically said we can do this plus do test corrections in class today because well, we're already done. And we have like a lot of time left. So I'm just going to like make sure you get these last few things. What is standard form? Well, that's what these are. And that's just write it in order with the biggest powers first. So like, is this in standard form? No, it's not in standard form. So I got to move this over 1, and then it would be in standard form. Do you know what I mean? So it'd just be 6x to the 8th, and then you write the other terms. Okay? Is this the final answer? Just look at it. Does it look like standard form to you? It's close, but there's one trick. These have to be combined because they're the same. It's a kind of a trick question. So they are in order, but there's a tie, so they really should have gone together. Okay. All right, how about this? This is telling you that same stuff about the leading term, the degree, and the leading coefficient. So I'm just going to fill this out for the first one and see if you get what I mean. The leading term here is the 4x. The degree of it is what power is on this. What power is on that if there's no number there? Is there no number? Is the degree 0? No, it's a 1. Good. And the leading coefficient? That's the 4. Just to clarify, the coefficient is the number in the front. Okay, what's the leading term on the next one? Negative 3x squared. Would you please answer the other 2 things? And then answer all 3 of them for this one. You can do it. I'll pause for a second. You fill out the rest of that chart. Now you get what it's doing. On again. Okay, and we had somebody fill that one in, and now here's another random person chosen here. But that person isn't actually here today, so I'll try again. All right, and that's going to be Eddie. Leading term is?
2x to the 4th.
Yep. The degree is?
4.
And the leading coefficient? Very good. Guys get those? I think they're pretty easy. What's the leading term here? Just circle it. Everybody just circle it, but be careful because they're trying to make a point about the leading term. Yeah, that's the leading term. But I could just see a kid going, oh, it's the first one. No, it's the one with the biggest degree. So I hope you caught that this one is actually the leader. And this one's actually tricky because it wasn't actually finished yet. So the lead term would actually have been 12x to the 3rd. Pause for a second. All right, so let's move on to the next page. Why do we care about the leading term? We're not going to go explore in Desmos. I think you could graph in Desmos anytime you want to. This one's got both ends up. Let's go opposite. Last time we were like saying, so if the degree looks like this, what if the graph looks like this? You get how both ends are up? Was that an even degree or an odd degree? This was even. Meaning the power on that lead term must have been even. See, it was. Do you get how these are both down and that's the same and therefore it had to be even? And it was. And see this negative sign here? That's saying the right side would be down. Last thought, it doesn't have any number here, which means you could say it's a 0. And look at that, the y-intercept was 0. Oh, and how many turns did it have? 1, which is 1 less than this, only 1 turn. That makes sense to you? Let's look at these. Let's look at a more complicated one. How many turns does this have? Do you see that that's a turn and that's a turn? So it must have been degree 2 then, right? Now degree what? 3. And there it is. Right? There's degree 3. Also, it's going down on the right. How could I have known that was going to happen? Negative in the front. And, oh, for the first time, I've caught a mistake in this notes. Did anybody else catch it? Something wrong with my picture. I know there is. Or this isn't the right equation for it. You know why? I'll give you a hint. The y-intercept isn't 2. It's supposed to be hitting at 2, but it's actually touching at 0. So that can't be right. So it's a flaw in my notes. Okay, moving on. Notice. See how they're all up? Up, 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 up. And look at the lead term. All positive. This has 1 turn. This has 3 turns. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You might be like, what are you talking about, server? Do you remember that like x to the 3rd does that weird snake thing? And that's where 3? Does that ring a bell? Okay. I know. That's a weird one. And this has got some weird looking turns in it too. It's got 1, 2, and that's a degree 4 turn. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you know that. Sorry, degree 3. But this is a total of 5 turns. I know it doesn't look like 5 turns. It's okay. This counts as 3. It's one of those snake ones. It's just really hard to see that it's a snake. Plus 4, plus 5. Okay, and I think it's time to get to actually homework, because I think I'm just going to be boring you at this point. So I'd like to get to All right, so let's say they give you this one. Remember me saying you don't have to multiply the whole thing out, just that? What would the answer be? This times this. Kennedy.
Would it be 2x?
Yes, and now tell me everything.
And then
This tells me two things. This tells me one thing.
the 9 is odd, so it's different.
Yup.
And then it has 8 terms.
Yup.
And then it's, for the 2, it's up to the right.
Up on the right. You've got it. I think we all have got it. So, the homework is in there. I think it's a worksheet, isn't it? Okay. Make sure it opens and everything. And then somebody have it open quick because I want to be able to tell you which ones to skip, and I want that on the video. Okay, so can somebody, you got it open already? Awesome, thank you. Just look at it. I'll see. Yeah, that's way too many. Let's keep it simple. Let's just do, would you guys rather do evens or odds? You get to pick. First person to say it picks. Evens. We're doing evens. So everybody do evens on the worksheet. I believe in homework, but I also believe in being realistic. If I make it too long, you won't do it. So this will keep it doable. Just do the evens on that worksheet. Drop it in the Dropbox. You got an easy, I think this is easy anyway. Got an easy point for homework. Just so you know though, a lot of you guys have a misunderstanding about homework. And right now in the grade book, every missing homework assignment is about 1%. So if you got a 92% average in here and you don't do one of your homework assignments, now you got a 91% average. Or if you have one missing and you turn it in, you'll go up about 1%. Okay, so don't think they don't matter, they do. Your test average, of course, is the biggest thing. But then your test average is going to go up or down based on how many missing homeworks. You got 3 missing homeworks, it's probably 3% lower than it should be. Plus, this year, for the first time ever, I've decided to just give, you can turn them in late. So you could turn them in 3 weeks late and it's still okay. So if you have missing stuff, turn it in. Your grade will just straight up go up. Okay, and that's all I have for the video for today.